Severe and Benny in the morning, 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. You can also email the show, Equitable Bank inbox, thanking your banking personally. We will answer your email, or at least read your email on the air. Again, send it to Michael at 1620thezone.com or Damon at 1620thezone.com. It is roughly, since the start of the weekend, the mid-season point of Major League Baseball. A lot of teams have played 81 or more games so far. How crazy is this whole run? Now, I know it changed last night because you guys, the Dodgers, lost, but to think back, a week and a half ago when the Cubs fans were really excited about having that combined no-hitter to being where they are now, losing 10 in a row, that is what you call a gut punch.
Yeah, and I have no idea what they're doing. Like, they're not just losing, too. They're getting kind of been getting drubbed.
They're getting drilled.
So it's like, I don't know, did they all of a sudden realize – and maybe they were maximized.
Yes.
And over time, I guess it reveals itself. But I think the bullpen is tired. They still can't hit.
They're moving back to the mean, kind of what we thought they would be.
Yeah. And maybe that's kind of what we were seeing.
Like we thought they'd be third, right? I had
liked
Milwaukee.
them second. I liked them second.
Oh, you had St. Louis, the Cubs, and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I had Milwaukee, St. Louis, and the Cubs out of those three. But still, most people didn't think the Cubs were going to be a team that was going to win that division.
The Cardinals are the team, in my opinion, that have a lot more in them. Like, they're underachieving.
Mm-hmm.
They went through that. They had like a 3-week stretch where they couldn't get anybody out.
Yep.
But I think they're capable of being a lot better.
And that's what we talked about. Milwaukee's defense and pitching was so much better than what the Cardinals were expected to be. But the Cardinals you thought would hit out of that, where Milwaukee wouldn't. The only team hitting worse than Milwaukee in terms of division leaders is the Mets. I think the Mets might be the lowest scoring. I know they're the lowest scoring division leader.
That was actually a good win last night too.
Oh yeah, it was
kind of stole one given the pitching matchup.
It was a weird game because the Mets get up 4-1, and then you're like, okay, going to bring in Edwin Diaz who hadn't pitched in a week, and then you say, well, the bottom of the eighth, bases loaded, no outs. So you're like, okay, cool, get a couple of runs. Diaz can come in with no pressure. What happens? They fly out, double play. It's 4-1. Diaz comes in, can't find the strike zone, gives up hits, gives up walks, gives up a run, and first and second, no outs, and got out of it on two really bad swings by Brewers guys. Both those pitches weren't in the strike zone. But still, he ends up, getting the save. But it was a weird game.
It's great. Like, the whole just streaky. Like, the Astros had lost 5 out of 6, and the A's couldn't run them down because they weren't playing well. And now you look back, you look at it, you blinked, and now the Astros have won, 3 or 4 in a row again. It's like they had their opportunity. And
remember, it was one. At one point we were looking at it, and it was only a 1-point difference. We had 3 divisions that were under a 2-game difference, and in all 3 of those, except for the Dodgers one, it has gone the other direction.
And I guess. Apparently, the Red Sox woke up.
Apparently, yeah.
They're back playing well. So
and the Yankees are a bad team to watch. They don't field it well. You don't feel confident with anybody going on the mound for most of them, and they're not clutch. I watched the 3-game series against the Mets. They're not clutch.
He's going to be back in the booth.
Yes, you're very right. He will be back in the booth.
He's going to be back in the booth here pretty soon.
Going back to the booth.
It is weird that the Giants won just enough. They're playing .500 baseball over the last couple weeks. Dodgers have been red hot and still find themselves looking up. But thank you, Nationals, for getting the Padres last night.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a big West Coast swing for the Nationals because the Dodgers hammered them. They swept those guys.
It's the Mets now are the second from the bottom in runs scored. Pittsburgh, after yesterday and the day before, they have 296 runs scored. Pittsburgh, the Mets have 299 runs scored. Somehow they managed to still be +7 in differential, only giving up 292 in runs against, which I believe, is that still the best?
Just thinking about
still the best. Yep.
My man Harold Reynolds yesterday struggling with run differential. I'm not sure what was going on.
The math?
It was.
There's a lot of hard math in baseball. That's not one.
I gotta see if I can find that.
Yeah, that's not one of them.
I'm like, maybe he's playing.
Who would you go with? So we were talking about this a couple weeks ago now. Mid-season MVP. You've got Vladdy Fernando Tatis, Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna, your boy Max Muncy. You have a feel for if you're going to go midseason MVP?
In the AL, it's either Ohtani or Vlad.
Mm-hmm.
1A. I was talking to Matt DeMarinis online on Twitter about that. I wouldn't be mad if it was Ohtani because people are like, oh, but he pitches too, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's cool. So that's fine. I'm not gonna. Definitely wouldn't hold it against him. But
he's the third best OPS for Ohtani.
Yeah, and Vlad currently still has the better WAR.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the projections say, but he's got to keep that up. So I'm okay either way.
And Vlad, again, only 61 strikeouts for Vlad.
I know.
Which is 20 under it's 29 less than Ohtani has. It's 20 pretty much away from everybody else that's even close to him.
Now, the National League's a lot tougher.
Tatis, if you look at his numbers, he is second in OPS. He's over 300 now. Remember how last week he was under 300 in terms of his average. And 27 home runs. He's got a bunch of walks as well. He's playing pretty well. But Kyle Schwarber had those 2 weeks where he went off.
Nice on the IL. Yeah, what he hit like 16 or 17 home runs.
Yeah, it was right around there. It was absolutely on fire.
That was unreal.
Yeah. Kind of like Ohtani was, just banging him out of there. He got his average up to 253. But like you said, he's out. And then there's Ronald Acuna, as we mentioned earlier.
How crazy is it to see the Nationals in second place right now?
It is. Well,
that's kind of wild.
Every time I look up, it feels like the Braves and the Phillies are losing. Because they were kind of going back and forth in the standings behind the Mets. And then every time you look up, you're like, oh, they fell again. They lost again.
And the Marlins are just talented enough to be annoying. Right.
Yeah. Well, you saw last night or yesterday. Yeah. By the way, the Marlins are plus 21 run differential.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that crazy?
And unfortunately, they just lost Sixto Sanchez. He's got a shoulder tear.
No one else in baseball is in last place with a positive run differential except for the Marlins.
And offense isn't their thing. They just don't give up runs.
They're sitting there at 300.
That staff is pretty deep.
330 runs scored. That is 31 more than the Mets, who are in first place. That division is just strange. That is a weird division.
It is. It's a crazy division to cap. That's for darn sure. As far as an NL MVP though, I mean that's I guess Tatis.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I don't like the Padres. I just don't. I don't know. Somehow they're still, 4.5 or 5 back or whatever.
In terms of favorites, the White Sox were the favorite in the Central. The Astros and Athletics were right 1 and 2 in terms of favorites. The Mets were favored in the National League. The Cardinals were favored above the Brewers in the Central. And, of course, the Dodgers were favored in the West. And we had a whole second half to go, but the Red Sox one is probably the one that's the most in terms of defying the odds.
Short of injuries, though, don't you kind of feel like the Brewers' arms are too good to hit a skid?
That and their defense combined, I think so. If it is going to be, it'd be like a 500 thing, like they're going 5-5 in a week or something.
Because they are void of offense, but they just they pitch it and pick it so well.
I mean, if it goes like it should today, that'll be 3 losses in a row for them.
I wonder what happened.
Because they're going against DeGrom today. We'll see what happens with that, but that could be 3 losses in a row for the Brewers, who were on fire before that.
Kind of wonder what happens. Can the Braves get healthy?
Hope not.
Because they piecemealed this whole season.
Yep.
But it's weird to see them under 500. Like you're like, wait, what? They're under 500?
Yeah. Well, they're just waiting to play the Mets again so Freddie Freeman can go off. That dude absolutely.
Wasn't he my pick for NL MVP?
Was it?
I think.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm pretty sure.
If he just played every game against the Mets, he'd be fine.
Sure.
Cy Young is just DeGrom in the National League.
Yeah. Everybody else try to figure it out.
His ERA is still under 1. His WHIP is .54.
And remember, this was the year I went with Bueller.
Bueller.
And he showed me, like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look,
But-
you can't complain about his numbers. They're great.
He's pretty filthy.
Yeah.
Dodgers need another arm now.
Yeah.
I'll
How long
talk
do you
about
think he'll
that
be
at-
out?
At 9:30. I don't know. It's just kind of weird to see how the Dodgers handled that. I don't know if they didn't take it serious.
Well, at first they said they weren't going to do anything.
I know.
He was going to pitch that day.
They had their hand forced a little.
And then they turned around and go, well, for 7 days, we'll sit him down.
So I wonder what they thought they knew that nobody else knew, unless they were just being negligent.
The crazy part about it is, Damon, and I don't care what you know or I know or they know. You know that just the optics of this in 2021 is enough to where you can't play the guy.
Yeah.
Even if you know for sure, you just can't do it. Not anymore. You can't just say, well, we'll wait and see. The public, the media doesn't allow you to do that anymore.
Are you okay with that?
No, I don't. I think if you do your investigation and you find that you believe nothing happened wrong, then you should go with that. In the past, nowadays, I don't believe that's possible. Because as soon as you hear the words either sexual assault or anything that way, that means you've got to shut the person down. And we've been seeing this now for a few years. This isn't that new. This has been going on for a few years.
Trevor Bauer has been, and maybe he was asked to, but it doesn't seem very Bauer-ish to not be saying much.
I would hope
I
his
don't think
attorney
he's
would be
gonna
saying, don't talk.
I'm sure he's not going to speak on that, but just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kind of shut it down.
Yeah. So he was expected to be back, and he is not now. So not for a little while.
And Dave Roberts said he's not going to be back for a minute.
While this is still going on.
Yeah.
And that's again.
Get you some closure. See what happens.
I wish we could get to the point where we could take each case on its own merits, figure it out that way, opposed to just saying, just because these certain words are mentioned, then that's it. You know, because we used to be. Not I'm not saying this is necessarily fair, but it used to be a situation where things had to go to court. Right? We're gonna go find out. This is gonna go to court. We're gonna do the investigation, whatever else. Then, if you're just accused, that's a big difference in our legal system.
Yeah, I just don't think you just can't afford it.
You can't. There's no way. Not with the optics. Not with the whole idea of.
And you can't be wrong either.
True.
That's the thing.
You can be wrong one way. You can't be wrong the other way.
Yeah, the other way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah, err on the side of caution.
When we come back, this day in sports history, plus Senior Open getting underway this week. Some of the names, if you are a guy who loves golf and you want to see some of the names you cheered for over the last 20 years, a lot of them are there.
They're here.
We'll tell you about that when we come back here on Severe and Benny in the morning.